What's going on? It's Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate y'all for continuing to rock with me. While I'm gassing up the G-Mobile, I wanted to share my thoughts really quickly. The end of the day thoughts, I kind of give a summary of what it is that's going on, what my mindset is, and I've been paying attention to everything related to Joe Smith. Joe Smith, number one draft pick, 1995. Drafted, has made, according to what people are telling me, over $60 million. Some people estimating over $100 million. Some people estimating over $60 million throughout his career. And he's broke. It's not the problem, right? There's a lot of people go broke. And I also understand, right? Like, he was a young guy. He got a lot of money. He retired, or he was pushed out the league, according to what his chick was saying on TMZ in 2011. So he had a career which spanned at least 6 to 7 years, right? 6 to 7 years. But here's the worst thing about his whole career. It wasn't even the fact that he went broke. It wasn't even the fact that he's in a difficult space or he battled with different things that people are reporting that he went through as far as depression and stuff like that. It's the fact that he surrounded himself with people that did not add value into his life. And at some point, us as kings, we're going to have to figure out that your success is largely tied to the environment and the community that you surround yourself with. Think about it. One of the reasons why we, as a culture, embrace the worst things for us is because we spend the majority of our time immersing ourselves or being subjected to the people that surround us that's toxic. And we grew up and we thought that that was normal. We thought that it was cool to hang out with these hoes for the streets. And then when you hit a certain age, you start to realize, wait a minute, that's not really cool. And the reason that it's not cool is not, and we got these short-term memories. It's almost like we revising history, we remixing history. It's like the people that you run into them and they be like, oh man, high school was so awesome or whatever. No, high school was cool for me. I remember you having a difficult time in high school and it wasn't that awesome. But our minds, we revise history to make things to be better than what it really is. And we think that just because we bust some chicks down or we partied with them or whatever, and we forget about all of the headaches and the problems and the trouble that they took us through. We forget about the fact that what came along with that box was hot rocks, you know what I'm saying? And you had a headache and you were stressed out, and it ain't no telling how many years off of your life that chick took in the form of stress, and how much money it cost you in the form of simping and spending money on chicks you shouldn't have been around in the first place. And we don't really take that into consideration. And I look at everything from a business perspective. So I take everything into consideration, right? And that goes for everything. That goes for your family. I was reviewing a video on the Millionaire Morning Show today, and Gilbert Arenas and Brandon Jennings and Kenyon Martin, they were going over the difference between white families and black families as far as the kids that get into the NBA, and the fact that when you start to get money, you then are expected to take care of the people that surround you, versus a different type of culture where they're trying to promote you, pushing the money forward and continuing to grow as far as the legacy and passing the money and growing it and getting it to the next person. So that when your kids grow up, they saying, hey, where's mine at? How come I never got to experience this lifestyle, but your mama got to experience it because you was a son husband? And I'm using Joe Smith as an example in his situation because he's the most visible person at the time. But the reality is this: there's a lot of people in our circles, a lot of people in our spheres, and a lot of people that surround us, women, family, everybody, that is dragging us down. And I'm speaking to our men specifically, but if you're a woman and you watching this, you can take this and you can utilize it also. There's a lot of people that is in our sphere that is dragging us down, and they are not adding value into our lives. It may be the woman that you laying next to. It may be the woman that's draining you, and you spend an extraordinary amount of time on the phone kicking it with her every day. And the reality is this: the minute that she don't feel comfortable or she gets upset, she's gonna turn on you, fam. And then you have to take into consideration, how much time did you spend nurturing, building, having conversations, getting to know this person, and it's all going down the drain simply because you spent too much time around somebody you shouldn't have been around in the first place. When we learn better, we supposed to do better, but we still subject ourselves to family members that don't have value in our lives. Listen, sometimes some people, especially when you're young, are a season, meaning that they are there for that moment. They are there to teach you a lesson. You're supposed to grow as a result of it and move on. When you move on past something, you don't turn around and you don't look back at it. That's how Lot's wife got turned to sand. When you move on from something, you don't turn around and look back at it. You move on and you keep going and you keep growing. We going forward and up. That's the thing that I teach my bag chasers. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. We doing a meetup over in DC this weekend, November 4th. And it's going to be lit, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm doing the Build Your Business where I'm funding y'all businesses in $1,000 and $2,000 increments in order to get your business started as far as vetting whether or not this is a good idea or not. But we're going to get into that later. That's later on in November that I'm doing that inside of the Patreon. But more importantly, the biggest thing that I want y'all to take away from this conversation is this. Everybody that is around you right now, you need to take inventory of it. On top of that, you need to look in the mirror and take inventory of yourself to try to figure out if you are the toxic friend. Because a lot of us, we look around and we say, yeah, it's the people around us, but you are the one that's the gossiper. You the one that's the issue. You the one that's the problem. Sometimes you the one that's giving all of this bad and negative energy and not adding value into the group. And so you the one that needs to be excommunicated. You know what I'm saying? Like if we just gonna keep it 100, if we gonna keep it real, sometimes you the person that need to be removed from the group. You know, I've gone so far as to even evaluate certain people, certain platforms, certain content creators. I don't even have them in my algorithm anymore because they add no value to my life. I have moved on. I have moved up. And if you notice, every single year I evolve. As a content creator, as a person, you know, I like to document my life, not necessarily because I live perfectly, but I'm learning, I'm evolving, and I'm not gonna make the same mistake more than twice. Sometimes I make it twice because I hit my head and I'll be like, oh man, wait a minute, that didn't really happen, did it? And then they hit you over the head again and you say, all right, shame on me that time, you ain't gonna fool me again. And I think that most guys need to understand their kingship. Your kingship is a journey. It is not a destination, it is a journey. A lot of guys tap into me on coaching calls and they say, Anton, how do I find what my purpose is? Your purpose is ever evolving, meaning that as you continue to grow, your purpose is going to evolve. Who you are when you're 20 is going to be different than who you are if you're 30, if you continue to grow, and who you are when you're 40 and who you are when you're 50. While you continuing to evolve, you don't want to do the same thing. You don't want to be defined by a job. You don't want to be defined by a city, a position, anything. As you grow, as you learn more, as you evolve, you're going to continue to make adjustments, and hopefully part of those adjustments is the people that you got surrounding you, and you need to continue to grow. If you are not growing, you are not on your purpose, and so it ain't nothing to discover. Your purpose is a journey. It's not a destination. The destination is for everybody else. That's for them to evaluate what it is that you've done and then try to make an adjustment or, you know, evaluate what your legacy is and have a conversation about it and whether or not it was fruitful or not. But the journey is yours. And so your purpose is not defined, but it's ever evolving, and you have to continue to grow. Part of that growth is removing people. Part of that growth is self-evaluation. And then also on the other side of that, part of that growth is keeping the people around you that add the most value into your life. Not the people that just tell you what you want to hear, but the people that's going to tell you the truth and actually got your back. Leave these hoes alone. Don't be a Joe Smith. It's unfortunate. Joe Smith is now going to become a tagline for what not to do, who not to surround yourself with. Don't marry the chicks for the streets. Don't fumble the bag. Don't do the wrong thing. And more importantly, make the adjustments, and then don't end up like Joe Smith. Don't end up like the most generic name, #1 draft pick in 1995 as a cautionary tale, and that's unfortunate. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm out.